everyone, welcome to another 2v2 battle. This theme is going to be the King Lewin's peasant army. Rally to the king. We have King Lewin Leoncoeur on a horse. We have a paladin on a horse, a damsel on a horse. We have 5 man-at-arm groups. We have 3 spearmen, 2 trebuchets, which are used by peasants. We also have 4 of these peasant bowmen, which I actually had to upgrade. This is a full army, by the way. The peasants are so cheap that I had to spend money upgrading units just to spend all of our money. So some of these peasant bowmen have been upgraded a little bit so that they do 23 missile damage instead of 22. Yeah, that's right. You better watch out. And yeah, we have 5 man-at-armed groups over here as well. In Vanguard deployment, I have 3 mounted yeomen. I know I've said this before, that I have no respect for mounted yeomen. I still don't. But the theme of this is peasant army, and I can't bring Knights of the Realm or Grail Knights in a peasant-only army. It just doesn't make sense. But I can bring mounted yeomen. Those are peasants just on horses. I'm joined by an ally of Karl Franz on his griffin. We have 2 groups of demi-griff knights with halberds. We have 3 crossbows and 6 groups of greatswords. Our enemy today is going to be some rebel empire lord, probably, let's say, Balthazar Gelt. We also have a bright wizard? A bright wizard. I rarely think it's a good thing to ever bring 2 casters like this. That's a lot of money, and they both share the same Winds of Magic pool. I would typically probably stick to just 1. But that's just me. I don't know. Do what you do. You know, play what you want to play. We do also have 2 great cannons over here. We also have swordsmen, crossbows, a lot of halberdiers, a couple of handgunners. I like the mix of handgunners and crossbows. It's a good mix. Don't go just one of something. Just bring a mix to battle, you know, all kinds of enemies. We also have some goblin wolf riders, which you know that I am a fan of, up here on the top of the hill, but they are not Vanguard deployed. Still, they're still cool. A couple of those units, we have some black orcs, we have forest riders, we have orc boar boys, you have a couple savage orcs led by Grimgor Ironhide, or aka Emma Watson. You know, Grimgor's alternate name when they're trying to act. We also have a boar chariot, which I do not see ever. Ever do I see a boar chariot. And a doom diver. They also have a giant as well. So right now the Empire player is getting into position to start firing at our armies because they have the range. Again, I've said this before. Artillery kind of dictates the terms of battle. The Empire has these cannons which are 450 range. My trebuchets are only 420. Therefore, we kind of have to be the ones that are the aggressors. They also have the high ground on top of this hill. So it's going to be, you know, a tough fight. We're going to probably have to fight uphill. At least that's what we're getting ready to do here. So yeah, we are marching our armies forward, and very soon we're going to come under the fire of the great cannon of the Empire. An all-peasant army, what the hell am I thinking? I'm thinking we're going to have fun, that's what I'm thinking. Show that these peasants aren't going to be laughed at. So yeah, the cannons are trying to target my trebuchets. Yep. Even the peasant artillery is not that great. It's fine though. We're getting them in position. They are now close enough to start raining fire on the front line of the infantry. Right now, I moved our mounted yeomen from this forest way back here up into this forest. Now, they were seen. They were revealed. I'm not sure if the opponents noticed them or not, but they were definitely revealed as they moved from forest to forest, but I'm going to just sit them in there for right now. Here come some doom divers. Meanwhile, the cannons are still firing at my trebuchets. We still have 3 over here, and we only have 1 left over here. And we are firing into... I think I took a couple shots at the giant, and then I'm going to switch to this block of infantry over here. To my banner! Now, I did want to remind you before this battle gets started of why the king is pretty cool. Let's just go real close. We'll leave it paused here for a moment. everybody in an area around him is going to receive the Blessing of the Lady, which is 12% damage resistance, which is one of the reasons why the king is so cool. And also, I wanted to point, I'll point that out later. But that is a buff that he constantly generates around himself. And also, as another reminder, the Damsel gives another similar damage resistance buff, but it's magic resistance, Aura of the Lady. So if you have these two people fighting relatively close to each other around your infantry, they're going to have 12% damage boost to everything. They basically give a 12% ward save, kinda, I guess you can think of it that way. So one of the reasons why the king is awesome. I thought about bringing a generic lord to this battle because, you know, it's peasants and I wanted to kind of get the lowest of the low, but I couldn't. I can't not use the king. Rally to the king. It's King Luan, you know, he's the best. I did opt not to have him on his hippogriff though, as we see here. I love the hippogriff. Just getting hit by the Doom Divers. And right now I believe I'm moving my mounted yeoman through the forest up here to get as close as we can to the enemy position. And Grimgor, true to orc fashion, is not going to just camp on the hill. They're going to march down the hill to try and greet us. I was honestly shocked. I thought they were going to form a circle around the hill, but no, Grimgor is like, not doing it. And the Empire player is marching forward across this little stream here. I'm still getting my army into position. I see this giant, and so we're going to try and get our bow set up to rain fire down upon it. Don't eat that, man. Don't. Oh, God. Don't. Oh, you played with your food. And here comes the greenskin horde. And a lot of arrows from our peasants and also the crossbowmen of the Empire. You see the Demigryph Knights in the background getting position. They're going to charge up the hill. There's those Orc War chariots. Empire greatswords against Savage Orcs. Fanatical goblins being dropped down. Now let me pause for just a moment. I want to show you the spell that I use. This is from our damsel who is... Where is she? Up there? She's around somewhere. But anyway, in this wide area... I gotta find... Where is she? We'll look at her later. I want to tell you the name of the spell. I think it's... Actually, it should be right here. Curse of Midnight Wind. Minus 34 melee attack, minus 15 armor. They're also being affected by Blood Roar. That comes from the Griffin of Karl Franz. So minus 34 attack and 15 armor is pretty huge. The armor, not a big thing against Savage Orcs because they have no armor to begin with. But the 34 attack is going to bring them down to a 4 currently. And the Savage Orcs are all about being super aggressive. They have a high melee attack. You can see they have a very low melee defense because they're just getting in there and they're getting killed. What kind of helps them a little bit is they do have a 20% damage resistance buff to physical because of their war paint here. Which it's not really showing that, but it's 20% physical resistance. But right now in this wide AoE, everything in here, including the boars and the giants and everything, are now basically not really going to hit much. So I think the Curse of Midnight Wind is a pretty cool spell. It also lasts for 24 seconds, so you can overcharge it to 48 seconds. And under the concentrated bowfire and crossbow fire, the giant is already dead. Karl Franz is in there. My troops are getting into position. The paladin is going to get over here and be joined by a man-at-arms group to charge up the hill soon. And I'm going to be bringing the king into melee combat here soon as well. My mounted yeomen are getting up the hill to support the demigryphs to fight against the handgunners and crossbows. So that's what's going to be going on up here. We're also going to be maneuvering around the great swords to try and get into the great cannon. There's the damsel. More fanatical goblins being shot from a group of archers that are up here, I believe. There goes Grimgor, aka Emma Watson, against the king himself. The king does not care. He's going to take this fight. As great cannons come in. And you can see Emma Watson is fearing for their life, and they are running from the king, as to be expected. As to be expected. Right here we have the paladin leading a charge of spearmen and man-at-arms up the hill to get into this clump of halberdiers and handgunners to help our mounted yeomen and the demigryph knights. Let me actually bring that off. And as you can see, I was so busy micromanaging the king and making sure to try and get spells on the peasant bowmen to give targets that I kind of mismacroed the mounted yeomen, so they sit here for a little bit and don't get into the great cannons for a while, which is my fault. My bad not micromanaging that correctly. But meanwhile, our peasant boats still shooting here from their vantage point. Getting into these black orcs that are fighting against the greatswords. There goes a fire pillar from the Bright Wizard Caster and Mounted Yeoman, but I moved them in time not to get affected by that. Here comes Balthazar Gelt's Comet, I believe it's called. And I'm going to see that spell too. And we're going to be able to move just in time. And we charge into these great cannons that have been firing the whole time. Here comes some more Mounted Yeomen to try and get to the backside of these handgunners. And I'm dropping that Curse of Midnight in this area as well. The King finally gets some halberdiers. Those Goblin Wolf Riders coming in. This is not a fight the King really wants. Not against halberdiers. I honestly didn't notice him at this point because I was micromanaging our Mounted Yeomen. But he gets into a fight against Balthazar Gelt and these halberdiers. You can see he is taking some damage. And the battle is going to end here pretty soon. And there it goes. So at this point, both opponents actually left. Now, I don't think they were going to win this fight. If we kind of look at what they have left, their hill was mostly cleaned up by our Mounted Yeomen, the Demigryph Knights, which are basically at full health, I believe. Emperor Karl Franz was also up there. They had a unit of basic swordsmen around, but they're not going to do too much. Grimgor was running out in the trees, along with the Night Goblins and a couple Orc boys. There was a group of, I think there's a Savage Orcs that came back from routing, but they are almost dead. There was a group of Orc boys here, and still those Wolf Riders as well. But, like, I still have most of my army. We have our Peasant Bowmen and our Crossbows over here. I did fail to show you this part, though. At one point during the battle, there were some Forest Goblins that were sent into here to try and flank our Crossbows. I intercepted with the Man-at-Arms, and Karl Franz actually intercepted them too, and they routed up to here, and we were chasing them down to make sure that they wouldn't come back. I did not show you that. And at the end of the battle, we only had 2 trebuchets left. Yeah. But hey, 2 is better than none. So yeah, again, I don't think they were going to win. It does kind of suck that they left a little preemptively. Grimgor would have come back with some of their Orc boys that were still left and the Night Goblins. And we could have still fought for longer. But yeah, they unfortunately left at that point. Let's take a look at the damage here. King racking up 16 kills, including a one-on-one fight with Grimgor, is pretty okay. The Paladin getting 22 kills is okay. Damsel doesn't usually get kills, not the way I play her. I rarely use her for her offensive spells, the actual, like, damage-dealing ones, because I just don't really like them too much. But the Curse of the Midnight Wind, dropping all those Savage Orc attacks to almost 0 for 24 seconds, because I don't believe I overcasted it, that's still huge. And they're fighting against Greatsword, Imperial Greatsword, so, like, they're basically just dying. They're throwing their bodies at great swords and dying at that point. Man-at-Arms did okay. My Spearmen did actually okay. They're not the most offensive unit, but they got some kills in there. Peasant Bows, they did alright, but they did help bring down a giant, so I'm proud of that. Mounted Yeomen got okay amount of kills. They were fighting against the Great Cannons and mostly Crossbows, which is probably the fight that you want them to have, because they can't really hold up against basically anything else. And even though there was only 2 trebuchets at the end, they still managed to get 30 kills. Gosh, the trebuchets. I want to believe in them so much, but I've never had them really do great things for me. Let's see. The Empire player for our enemy, the cannons got a lot of kills there. They definitely were paid for. That's a good amount of kills. Great swords got not much, really. But I think this greatsword unit was chasing my Mounted Yeoman around the top of the hill, which is not where that should have been. Crossbows didn't get that much either. The handgunners got 0 kills. I guess maybe they just didn't have line of sight on the targets because they were shooting down and they couldn't shoot through, or could not shoot through, the Orc's backside. I'm assuming is what happened there because they need line of sight. As far as the Orc goes, Emma Watson, let's see, the Orc boys got destroyed. Grimgor only got 1 kill, which is not great. Night Goblin Archers got 0 kills each. The Wolf Riders, not really that great. Even the Chariot only got 12 kills, but the Chariot was also affected by that Curse of the Midnight Wind, so maybe that's when they got destroyed. Doomdiver got 40 kills before it got taken out, and the Giant, that poor Giant, was leading the charge against an Empire player with 3 crossbows and me with 4 Peasant Bowmen, who are upgraded. Peasants Bowmen, by the way. Upgraded. So yeah, only got 22 kills before it died. That was an unfortunate situation for it. And my ally, all those great swords. Wow, Karl Franz, 68 kills. Karl Franz is a monster on the Griffin. Insane. Insane. Each one of these great swords did pretty well. Crossbows did okay. Demigryph Knights did pretty good, but they were sent in the backline against crossbows, handgunners, and a couple halberdier units, and they still were at like full health. Also upgraded. I don't know if I would spend the money on Demigryph Knights to upgrade them some more, because you're already getting a insanely good package for relatively cheap for what you're getting, and putting more money into them, I don't know. I would probably put those maybe into the great swords. Hey, you know what? It worked out. It worked out. So let's take a quick look at the king, because I've never really brought him on a mount before, or on a horse before. Let's get rid of you. So the big thing about putting them on a hippogriff is that they gain armor piercing damage, a lot of it. They do get a little weaker in terms of armor. You can see on the horse, the king has a, well, for one, it has a shield, so he can actually block missile and handgunner fire. But he also has 110 armor as opposed to 80. He does have less hit points, though. His melee attack and his melee defense are also much higher on a horse than it is on his hippogriff or a basic hippogriff as well. The only thing you really want to get this for is for the fact that they can fly. They have a very high charge bonus, and they have armor piercing, which is still great. Like, I still think the hippogriff is an amazing unit. But I honestly don't think the Barded Warhorse is bad. And if you're kind of in a pinch for money, you can save some money and maybe get the Barded Warhorse. The king is actually a better combatant on the horse. They just lose some of the damage, and especially like the armor piercing damage. But if he's just fighting with his troops against, I don't know, almost anything, he's still going to do pretty well. So yeah, I think the king on the horse is a great idea. The paladin I'm still not on board with, and I'll tell you why. I wish the paladin had what the white king has. So the white king has Foe Seeker, Deadly Onslaught, which the paladin does as well, as you can see down here. But the white king also comes with this Heroic Killing Blow, which increases damage and armor piercing damage. And I wish that the paladin came with that. He has 100 gold cheaper, but I really do wish he had that ability. I think that would make them much stronger. Same with the Dwarven Thane, who is 800, so the same cost as the White King. But you can see here, he only has the Foe Seeker and the Deadly Onslaught as well. I really wish these, like, just straight up warrior heroes, I wish they all kind of had that Heroic Killing Blow, so they would all be on an equal level playing field. But, you know, they don't. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the Paladin. I brought him in here because it's a peasant army and it was very cheap and I needed to have some kind of cool units to rally around, and so I brought a Paladin. But yeah, there you go. That is that's the peasant army. I'll try them again in the future. I like these themes. I like to see if they can win or not. And this time we won. Look at all this money I put into our... I've never put money into upgrading units, but they're just so cheap. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, everybody, and have a great day. Take care.